All right, welcome to Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose. And Jose, I know it's been overlooked, because of the Captain docu series on ESPN, but they also had another recent ESPN film release on Dickie V, and you kind of brought up the idea of doing a game that we feel like is his best, or as far as his commentary career, his most known game, at least for us. And we decided on this classic '95 Carolina Duke game.
Yeah, and thanks, Jeremy. This was the first game we were like in agreement with right away. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just funny. Like, I mentioned the game, and you were like, "Yeah, let's do it." So yeah, and I know for both of us, which that Dickie V documentary was great. But I know like early on, especially like in this era of college basketball, especially like Dickie V's territory, and to me this was his best game. This was probably the best college basketball game I've ever seen. So I'm excited to do this rewatch.
No, absolutely. I think it's going to be a fun one. This game was I remember where I was watching it, and it's funny because it's such a memorable game, and such a memorable play with that shot. Now, a lot of people think that Duke wins this game, because of that play, but that's not the case, honestly. But it's just funny what people kind of remember about this game.
Yeah, and this just takes me back, to like the ESPN2, like very early on
in
ESPN2. The Deuce, yeah, like how they have it all, like it almost looks like graffiti, you know what I mean? Like it's funny how that looks, and obviously we know now like how many channels ESPN has. There are
about
so
50.
many, but at this time it was ESPN and ESPN2, and college basketball was heavy, especially with ESPN2. They used to always have college basketball games on there, and it was just games, and they always had Duke UNC, so it was always a treat to catch that.
And it's big because this year Coach K winds up going out for back surgery, so he does start the year, but then for this game, he's already taken a sabbatical for the rest of the 94-95 season, and his assistant coach, Pete Gaudette, is actually filling in for him. So this is a Coach K, Dean Smith era game, but Coach K is not a part of this game.
Right, he coached the first 12 games. I think Duke went 9-3, something like that. And then after that, they took a nosedive. And this was the first time and one of the only times I can remember Duke just being terrible. This was not a good Duke team. And you'll see the roster, and you'll see the players. We'll talk about the rosters on both of these teams, but even to today, like this is one of the worst Duke teams I've seen. And on the flip side, for North Carolina, this is probably my favorite North Carolina team of all time.
It's the first Carolina team that I fell in love with was this era team. Honestly, a team, in my opinion, that kind of they left a lot on the table, in my opinion. Like, and they wind up going to the Final Four this year, but I feel like with who they had on this team, they should have gotten Dean Smith his third national title.
Yeah, I mean this UNC team, and if you've listened to this podcast for a while, me and Deremy are big UNC fans, and again, like this was for me one of my favorite teams, and even like the next class, like the Carters, Jamesons, like that was neck and neck, like two of my favorite teams, and if you look at this Duke lineup right here, like Capel, Langdon, both the backcourt very young. I think Langdon's a freshman here.
Yes.
Capel's a sophomore. If your best player is Cherokee Parks, you're gonna have a tough time winning a lot of games. Yeah, and especially in the ACC in the mid '90s for sure. And we'll get into that. All the great players that are in this conference, but Cameron is rocking. The Duke crazies, Cameron crazies are going nuts, man.
Yeah, this is a stacked draft. For 95, the third and fourth picks of the draft, Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace, both from this UNC team.
Yeah, Stackhouse is one of my most disappointing players of all time. You know, he had a long career, long NBA career. I thought he was going to be the shit.
Well, he got compared to MJ, and I think it was wrong to compare him, but because he could dunk and he played at North Carolina, he got that MJ. There's a lot of guys who are there. Who's the next MJ? You know, Grant Hill got it, but you know people forget Stackhouse got it too.
Yeah, Stackhouse had a nice, good career in North Carolina.
Yeah, he's All-American, first team. On him having, you know, there's one point he led the NBA in scoring, and when he went to Detroit, he kind of at least emerged and, you know, all-star level player, but there's a lot of hype for Jerry Stackhouse around this time.
Yeah, and then the other guy, and you mentioned Rasheed Wallace, and, you know, for both of us, it was big for me especially, and for both of us, I'll say, like, to see someone from Philly, from Simon Gratz, like, on this big stage, who I knew about Rasheed Wallace when he was in high school, you know, Gratz being like a 5-10 minute drive from where I grew up at, off of Hunting Park, and, you know, that was for me one of the biggest reasons why I was such a big fan of this team, and it was just like seeing him excel and doing so great. It made me feel good, you know.
Well, for me, it was big because from Philly, but my mom taught Rasheed Wallace, so it was. She taught him in middle school and saw him up in high school. So, you know, you can find yearbooks in my house, and there's Rasheed Wallace back, you know, Woodrow Wilson Middle School. So, there's that connection there.
Yeah, oh yeah. And he had a great game in this game. And you can see, like, you know, UNC had definitely more of the talented players, man. And it's just Rasheed and Stackhouse, you know, start killing them right off the bat. And, you know, UNC jumps out to an early lead.
Yeah, and like you said, the talent, it's clear. This is one of, like, the weakest Duke squads in Coach K's, you know, tenure at Duke. It's one of those times where it's just really, like, it's not even, like, besides Trajan Langdon, who's a freshman, there's, like, who's that guy who winds up being on the team when they finally turn around? You're kind of, like, searching. It's like young Trajan Langdon. Other than that, it's just a lot of guys who just, you know, it's a struggle. And it's honestly surprising that Coach K had a 9-3 start with this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. And I when I saw that, I was like, wow, like, that was a great coaching job, because you'll see it, like, you know, and this was obviously an all-time great game. And when you have these two type of teams playing against each other, you know, it's just going to elevate guys. But, you know, for them to even be, you know, for this to be that good of a game, it was a surprise to me too. McGinnis, another guy I really liked.
Like Jeff McGinnis. You know, this is a thing, and I feel like I try to be mindful, especially I've realized recently, like, about definitely want to give props when it's due to all eras, including this era. So a lot of times in sports, there's that debate of what's better now, what's better back then. And I think you make a case, it depends on what you're talking about, if old school is better than the current day. But to me, one of the sports that, like, it's really hard to say is not better back then than it is now is college basketball. College basketball was just better. And the thing is, you have a Jeff McGinnis, you have different guys on these teams who they became household names. You don't get that in college basketball anymore.
Nah, even Donald Williams was a senior on this team, really good player, you know, and you're exactly right. Like, for me, I'll say this, in my opinion, like, college basketball is definitely nowhere near what this was back then. And, you know, and we grew up in this. This was like, you know, my heyday for sure, and your heyday, like, kind of just watching and just diving into this. I know you were a bigger Big East fan, but I was ACC all the way, you know, and I just love watching these games, all of these games. And you look at this year, 94-95 season, you got Maryland's good, you know, with Joe Smith. You got Wake Forest who's good with obviously some guy named Tim Duncan and Childress. You know, Travis Best is in Georgia Tech. Like, there's so much talent in this ACC. Williams, beautiful stroke. But it was just so much fun to watch, and that's just in one conference,
Absolutely.
Yeah, you go already. They jumped out early on them, man. They 12-2. They weren't missing.
No, this is a squad. They were top, highly ranked all year long. Like I said, they go to the Final Four this year, wound up losing to Arkansas, and Arkansas was defending national champion. So I mean, yeah, you could say maybe like they could have. I think that they should have gotten to the championship and won this team here. I really do. This wound up being Dean Smith's 10th Final Four. He gets 11 total, but winds up getting 10. This is his 10th Final Four here. So always fun. Dean Smith, probably my favorite coach in sports. It's Dean Smith, so it's always fun to kind of talk about him and look at his career.
Yeah, this UNC team was super top heavy. It was like this is one of the only teams that I can remember. Under Dean Smith. From when I was watching them, that all these starters played so many minutes. You know what I mean? Like they had nobody on the bench, and these guys had to play. And I think that really hurt them going down the stretch. Because again, they're so good, they don't even win the ACC tournament this year either.
No, but it's funny because it's just that combo. Like a lot of people remember Stackhouse and Rashid, and they really had these 2 years together. Honestly.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Wallace with a nice stroke, man. He had a really, really good game, man. Just overall, like good game. Good skill.
No, it's a talent, and it's knowing what we always knew about Rashid, and then knowing what I don't think it was out, but later came out about the no-nonsense tough dude that Stackhouse was. It shows like Dean Smith is like one of the only guys who could kind of, I feel, work with guys like this. That alley-oop to Sheed.
Yeah, beautiful play. And this is like it goes. This is a nice stretch here where UNC is just putting up highlight after highlight. And it starts with Rashid. He gets a couple really nice dunks in this game.
He's got
that being the first one.
He's got, and that's the thing. I think that he gets like 3 really great dunks at least. But I think the 2 plays that come out is the Capel shot and then Stackhouse's dunk are 2 plays that are remembered. And a big part of that's because of Dickie V's commentary.
Right, exactly, and that Stackhouse dunk, it was an all-time great. And we'll obviously see it in this game, but it's a big dude, man. And the thing is, what people forget about defensively, Rasheed Wallace was a great defender as well. Rebound, block shots, had a nice touch. Obviously, can play above the rim. And I can't remember who it was. It was recent. I can't remember. They were on a podcast and they were comparing like, Rasheed Wallace to like Giannis, and saying like Rasheed would have been a better player if he played today, comparing him to Giannis. And I don't know about that comparison, but I guess the way they both play really physical, I don't know.
It's hard because the game's just so different.
Right.
But she's not the athlete that Giannis is, like.
And he's a better shooter than Giannis.
Yeah.
That's another one.
That's one of the alley-oops.
He's looking at the crowd, and you can see that intensity there,
It's rare that you hear, Cameron that quiet. The only time I can think of is, this past year, senior night for Coach K.
Ooh, yes, right.
And it was pretty quiet there, too, and which I loved. I
loved that, too.
And, we didn't really get just doing the podcast because we were kind of in a transition from moving from the studio to back to doing it remote. But, how I think the most epic Carolina Duke game just happened in the Final Four this past year, and it was a special one.
Yeah. And
nothing better than retiring Coach K, if a Carolina fan.
Absolutely.
Like, if you're a Duke fan, can you ever talk ever again? Like, what can you say?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what, they had a great recruiting class this year. I'm curious to see what's going to happen to Duke.
Yeah, it's a new era.
Yeah, and I think that run with North Carolina is going to really help Hubert Davis. I think me and you talked about it at that time.
I'm curious. Put him on the map. I don't want him to be like Mike Davis, Indiana. He gets to that title game, loses, and then it's big time program replacing the legend, and then it's like, is this going to be something? And it just falls off the cliff. So I like Hubert Davis. I'm hoping he can keep the momentum for that program.
Which shouldn't be hard, but I guess nowadays it's a lot different. Yeah, again, UNC jumping out to 23-9 lead, and it's just like Duke just does not have anyone that can create their own shot.
Not at all. And there's it's just like, which you don't see a lot in these great Carolina Duke games, but it just looks like Carolina just has great athletes, and you're looking at Duke like it's like, is it Princeton or something? It's there's no athletes on that squad.
And this is what I noticed this earlier. And Stackhouse finished the year at like 19-point-something points per game, but it's always that, like, the only person that stopped Michael Jordan in college was Dean Smith, and when I saw that average, I was like, wow, that was pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
Both number 5, both wear blue. And we got the worst seats in all of basketball. We're sitting tonight.
Yeah, they always say that. I never found it to be true, because it's like, I bet you if Michael played on great Carolina teams,
Yeah.
I really do believe they got Dean his first title. That team should have had multiple titles with Michael and Sam Perkins. People forget how great of that's an all-time college player, Sam Perkins.
Right, and Worthy was on that team, you know what I mean? Like, Worthy was a beast.
And Worthy, I mean, he was a senior after 82, but it was still like, you bring in a Brad Daugherty, you bring in Kenny Smith, like, you're bringing in like that team, especially Michael's last year, his junior year, they got bounced in 84 by Indiana in the Sweet 16. I feel like, my brother, he always debates because he knows I love Dean in Carolina, but about, should Dean have had more titles? And it's tough. Like,
I think so, though. Some of the talent that he had on those teams, man, some of those players that he had in his program, even like I mentioned earlier, like this next recruiting class that comes in with Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, you still got McGinnis, you got players on that team. You know what I mean? Like, those are all-time great players too.
Here we go.
Oh my God! Dickie V goes crazy.
He's incredible. He's awesome. He's ramming, he's jamming, and he's slamming. There it goes. Ram, jam, slam. Bam. What a play.
Great call, Dickie V.
One of his best.
I didn't even want to say nothing. I wanted to let him go,
No,
I would never forget that play, man.
One of his best calls, Dickie V.
Yes, it was. Jordan-esque. Oh.
And there you go. Kind of what you were talking about
comparisons,
earlier. Right, and it's hard to shake them. 2 guards from Carolina, like you said, play up in the air above the rim and doing shit like that. And I would never forget when I went on vacation with my parents. I went to Puerto Rico around the draft. And this is before internet. You know what I mean? Like, this is mid-90s. And I can remember when I came home, the first thing I asked was the Sixers draft Stackhouse. And I remember he was like my little brother, this guy. And he was like, yeah, the Sixers draft Stackhouse, man. I was like, I thought it was it, man. I thought it was over.
We got the wrong Carolina player.
Yeah.
Imagine the Sixers take Rashid.
I'm sorry, Coach K's daughter wearing your lucky hat.
And team him up with AI.
Yeah, that's a different, and I think that combo could have worked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking a couple years later, the Sixers get AI. You got AI and Stackhouse, that backcourt. Oof, man, that's going to be a great backcourt from here on out. Anyway,
it's flamed out real quick.
Yeah, that pressure, man. They should have been doing that early on in the game.
Doug Collins' son.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
I tell you, man,
all tatted up now and stuff.
That shows, man. Just sometimes it's weird because in football, I don't feel like you get like this guy, right? You see him, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. Yeah, people are going to want to play him when he's like in high school or something like that. He's a big guy. But there's a lot of big guys who even play football, but don't like get D1. Like they're not there, right? Like they don't move on, but they're big. Like they have the size to be like NFL, but they don't get it, or D1. I tell you what though, man, basketball, that's sport. If you are like 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, you could be the biggest stiff. You're guaranteed a D1 scholarship.
Yeah, you
and
can just stand there and rebound, and somebody's going to come get you. Yep.
And I hate to be mean, but some of these guys in this game kind of show it. Zwicker is one of them too. Serge was there for a long time.
Yeah.
Michelangelo.
Another classic Dickie V nickname there.
He pulled out another magical one, as you've seen so many, as you told me today driving over here. I mean, he was like down 10 late in the game against Wake Forest. I didn't think there was any way.
Yeah, Cameron's quiet.
Real quiet.
Yeah.
Great pass. Collins with a pump fake and drew the foul. Nice, smart play by Collins.
Yeah, he was going to get that punched. He went up with that. Stackhouse, another really good defender, too. Can do it both. I will never forget when he was, I don't know if it was his rookie year with the Sixers. I think it was Weber came. He was like on a breakaway dunk, and he came in. He blocked that dunk. I was like, dang. Like, he literally blocked Weber's dunk.
Yeah, and he had like defensive, and it kind of, I felt like the more he went to Detroit, became more offensive minded. That kind of like went away a little bit from him a little bit. Like he wasn't as, but you're right. He was when he was younger. Like he could play both sides of the ball.
26-13, Carolina. I don't believe Carolina's capable of playing any better than they played in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is they go to that bench and chill out, Chris. Oh, Chris Collins. Relax.
Come on, you're a future coach here. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Chris. Look at Pete. Pete's like, ugh. I'm getting too old for this shit. He's Murtaugh. That's a Roger Murtaugh look.
Yeah. Yo, what's funny in Murtaugh in that movie in Lethal Weapon, he was like 42.
Oh yeah, he's not that old. No.
Yeah, I was like, ugh. I don't feel like that right now, man.
But he plays it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he plays a great role.
Danny plays like he's like, Danny, you are old. Roger Murtaugh. That's what Pete Gaudette looked like right there. Like, where's Mike?
Right. But also, like you mentioned, like which Coach K, there was a back injury, but also it was like fatigue as well. You know what I mean? Like, and you need. We talked about that a lot when it comes to Dick Vermeil and how when Dick Vermeil retired, you didn't hear anything like that. Especially in football, but. At this time too, like you didn't really hear too much of like fatigue and needing a break and stuff like that. And Coach K needed that,
No, I remember this is still the time, Vermeil had left after 82. And I still, me and you've talked off air. I think for me, not just in sports, but in society, the term burnout really is popularized to me by Dick Vermeil started that. Like, and even at this point, the other term that was kind of said negatively about him, and he winds up coming back to the NFL a couple years after this. But that happened to Coach K, and I remember watching, I think it was a Sports Century, where, as people know, Coach K and Jim Valvano, late Jim Valvano, got closer, and once Jimmy V stepped down, they had a really close relationship, and Coach K was there when Jimmy V passed, and Jimmy V's wife sent over a letter that Jimmy V had written while he was alive to Coach K and his wife, and talking about don't let time go by, be there for your family, don't waste, don't miss it, don't, pretty much talk about avoiding burnout and avoiding, having a better work-life balance. And Coach K was in bad, like you said, bad health overall, and his wife kind of read that letter to him saying, you need to take care of yourself. Jimmy's giving you a warning here. And that's when he decided to go get that surgery and take the rest of this year off. And, sometimes it's important for that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He coaches another 26 years, though. But,
yeah.
At least, something probably changed for him at this year.
Well, I wonder if he keeps going, do we get him coaching to 2022? You know what I mean? Like, it's,
yeah, good point.
It's now we saw what happened, but a lot of times guys, they don't take that stop, and then their body. I think all of us, eventually your body's going to force us to stop. And it was going to be a lot worse for him. So.
Now Duke is turned up the intensity defensively, man. They're giving Carolina a little problem. And now Cameron is starting to get loud.
Yeah.
There you go. That's great teamwork.
Yeah, I don't know what. That was weird.
Put my hand in your face.
Yeah.
I love this Carolina jersey too. Like, I know Carolina jersey is Carolina jersey, but this one here is probably my favorite. Because they alter it, from time to time, but this one right here is my favorite one.
Best jersey in sports to me.
Yep. Absolutely. We definitely talked about that in our episode. Check the archives. We broke down our best jerseys. We broke down the best jerseys. We got to do the opposite, man.
Well, we do, but I don't think we didn't even go too deep because that was for pro. So I think we mentioned that was it. But my list, we would have had college in there. My list would have been different.
Oh, it would have been a whole lot different.
That's that sheet that being animated.
Yeah. The Dukies. Trajan Langan, a very Duke player.
Yeah, and
Newton will take a 17-footer, won't hit it.
It was interesting. He stayed that extra year.
Yeah.
And he kind of made that jump, an improvement that I think could get him drafted higher, but still just wasn't the athlete. He didn't have the athletic ability to make it to the next level. Look at that.
Man, I'm going to tell you something there, man. If I ever dunk on somebody like that, man. Yeah, I'll be unbearable.
Oh, yeah. He was. You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
Dean reeling that in. Rashid's been on some podcasts and said After the Weber timeout game, when North Carolina wants their second title, and they're national champs, the day after, Dean Smith comes to Philadelphia to recruit Rasheed.
Nice, yeah.
And that's huge. The day after the title.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
How much he wanted him.
Yeah, it says a lot about the player, a lot about just how hard you have to work in a college. And this is back in the 90s. So how hard you have to work, there's no time off in big-time college sports and recruiting.
Yeah, you couldn't enjoy that one.
No.
But if I'm Rasheed Wallace and I see that, it's like, wow, like this coach just won a national title, and he's here talking to me the next day. Like,
and that game was in New Orleans. So It's like, did he stop off? I don't know. Did he stop off in Carolina first? Did he go right from New Orleans right to Philly? Like, I don't know, but. Look at she taking the charge. That's the difference, though, of Carolina. And it's different a little bit now, but to me, always, there was that run where Carolina players, when they left under Dean Smith and they went to the next level, you had stars, but also really good role players. And there was a long time. It's changed, especially in the one-and-done era. But for a long time, Duke, Coach K did not have great, NBA players under him. Like, it was a big difference. Like I said, the one-and-done era really changed that.
Yeah.
For Coach K. But there was a long time. It was like Grant Hill, and that's about it.
Yeah, it was Grant Hill, and that was it, because for a while there. And I felt like that, Elton Brand team, I think was Maggette on that team as well.
Maggette was a freshman, yeah.
Yeah, I think that team kind of changed it a little bit. Yeah, the Jay Williams come, and then those guys started playing. But you're right, the one and done's changed it too for them.
Yeah, because Jay Williams didn't really play in the NBA.
Right.
Sadly, and Dunleavy was whatever. Boozer was okay.
Boozer was all right.
But it was still kind of But the one and done, then you started getting people rolling.
Yeah. And even that, early on in that one and done era, they struggled.
Mm-hmm.
Duke struggled.
But I say that because seeing she take the charge, that is what I felt like offensive. A Dean Smith, when he coached you, he coached all the fundamental. You were a well-rounded guy. Where I didn't feel like that's what Coach K. I think he got the best out of his guys, but I felt like that was the hard part for a Coach K player. You were a star at Duke, and then making that transition to the next level was hard for a Duke player.
Yeah, no, I agree with that because I know that was my one dart that I would throw at Duke, fans. It's you guys are terrible pros, and is it because also, and again, if you're good at North Carolina, you're on TV, you're really talked about. But I feel like with Duke as well, and it's I feel like they put these players on, these pedestals, man, and they're so beloved that I feel like when they go to the NBA, dudes just want to attack them. JJ Redick, we've been talking about. He was a great player, great college player. He went to the NBA. He was nothing early on, He was always a good shooter, but he couldn't defend us, and then he worked on that and got better with that and became a nice role player. But, I just feel like these guys come out of, especially Duke, man, and they go to the NBA and dudes just want to attack them.
Yeah, I feel like it's that, and then I feel like, when I watched a lot of Duke teams, they played well for college basketball. and he took advantage of the 3-point line being in and different things. Like they played well for that time, but like we talked about with some of the guys we've named, it's a different thing, and that athleticism is a step above it. But also, can you do those fundamental things? And you don't really. I didn't watch these Duke teams and go like that fundamentally sound, like well-rounded kind of a guy. I felt like they played well to win in college basketball. Coach K got the most out of them. I don't take that away from him. But to me, that's what I saw. I think that's what made Michael great to me. Was he's a great athlete, but Michael did all the right things. He had like the correct, the hand in the pass. Like he did all those things that made him come in and shine right away.
Right, and you're right. When you get in the NBA, it's like you can do all of these things, and it's like let's elevate all that stuff. Like Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Zach Morris.
Yeah. Yeah, Duke going on a nice run here, though.
They're a 15-4 run.
Yeah.
And I think you brought up a good point, though, like Carolina being very top-heavy, but not quite having that bench at this time. And it shows. But I really feel like this was more of an overconfidence thing, though.
Yeah, I agree.
And combined with the fact that it still can be there today a little bit, but like we said earlier in the show, when you're not there as long, like for years, that goes away. But when you play in a conference together and you're in there seeing each other sometimes a tournament play 3 times a year, that talent level, that it could be different, but you know this team. So that there's that whole thing too.
100%. Yeah, especially these 2 teams, and they had that up. The difference with Coach K, but 1-6 when when he wasn't coaching his team this year.
Yeah. That's why I always looked at good pass.
Yeah, that was nice.
Chief Cherokee Parks. Woj House.
I hated that dude.
I couldn't stand him.
I could not, because I knew he was a scrub. You know what I mean? Like, I knew he was a scrub, and he just still did little things here and there to get you wins. I hated him.
Well, Dickie V, the thing that we don't talk about, I mean, John Madden in the NFL, so the NFL is bigger than college basketball, but, there's the guy who's the closest to John Madden is Dickie V.
Yeah.
And, John Madden made Nate Newton and Billy Bates and a lot of these guys. Dickie V made a lot of guys, too. And, he's one of the top guys who, Dickie V really helped him make.
That's a great point, because commentators can't do that. They hit him with the zone.
Because, he would get a guard like, a McGinnis, or he would get, or Ed Cota, and they'd be blown by him. And look at, he's just fighting. I'm like, he can't stay in front of the guy. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, see, I would have went zone early on if I was Duke.
I knew Wojo was small, but it's been a while since I watched a game with him. He just looks like really
yeah.
I'm
like my height.
Yeah, I'm like, he 5'7".
Like me out there.
Yeah, like he looks real small.
Yeah, he does. Shammond Williams.
Yeah, that's a name.
Yeah. And he's on the bench on this team getting a little bit of clock. The next season he gets, again with that Vince Carter team and all that, he's a big part of that.
All
their frustration. God forbid Duke has a bad year. Yeah, I'm Carolina. I'm zoning it up too. I'm letting him shoot all day.
Oh yeah.
I'm on Langdon. I thought Donald Williams was going to be a nice player.
See, McGinnis was that for me. I thought would be better than what he was at the next level. I like Shimon. I didn't see. He was like college basketball had those guys. They were there for a while, so like their names, but it's like I didn't see him. He was a product of being on good teams.
Yeah.
It's a one-point game. The miss by Donald Williams and Price with a reach-in foul. Hey, Mike, I can't believe it. I have to tell the truth. I was getting all my filler material ready to roll, baby.
I just want to hit Dickie V for a little bit.
It was 26-9. There was no way to believe it.
Thought
it was filler time. He gets real hype.
Yeah. But he's right though. Like this early on, this game looked like it was going to be a blowout. And I'll give Duke credit. Defensively they turned it up. And that's the one thing when you don't have that talent like that. Like you can do that if you're aggressive and you're playing good defense. That'll get you in games.
They stepped up. They brought that energy, and Carolina to me brought overconfidence. And they thought and they were playing great. But to me looked like they thought they're sitting the crowd home early tonight, and they got a little overconfident. And I think that's kind of what credit to Duke bringing that intensity, but Carolina had overconfidence.
Pierce Landry, 2 free throws.
If you're feeding me that, you got to be proud of the way these kids battled back. Patience and poise here, but here's the skip pass.
Yeah, see, I'm giving Cable that shot too.
Yeah.
Right over the top of the defense, the skip pass. The zone slides and you make that pass to the guy next to you.
I'm looking here. I'm just wondering.
He's a very streaky shooter.
I don't know. Arkansas was kind of thinking about Carolina losing to Arkansas because I also wonder because they would have gotten that they beat Arkansas. They have UCLA in that title game. The O'Bannons and I wonder if they would have beaten UCLA.
I don't know. That would have been a good game. I just think that UCLA team is like deeper than this Carolina team.
And
it would have been a good matchup.
And then that UCLA team gets upset by Princeton the next year, that first round game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is a conversation I've had over the years. You just see, and basketball is a top heavy. Like if you have the best guys on the floor, a lot of times, like the first and second or first and third best players on the floor, you should win. So it's hard to say like you have Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace, who they're young, they're sophomores, they were NBA ready. Like no one looked at them and was like, maybe you should stay one more year. It was like, nah, y'all should go now. So
because even against that UCLA team, they're the 2 best players.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like, and if you look at both rosters, they're still the 2 best players. They're the 2 best players against most teams. You know what I mean? This year.
Thomas Dawson and Tom, did you play with your brother early in high school, and did he show that kind of flair back then?
Oh yeah, back then, Jeremy's always been I've never been the player.
And interviewing his half brother.
Yeah, I know, right? You got to put half.
Jump like him, ain't no way.
Is Jerry the kind of player who will stay at UNC for 4 years?
That was the deuce for you back then.
Yeah, that's all they could get.
Half.
You need to interview somebody. Yeah, get his half brother.
I go lie, I like his polo though. I would rock that Carolina polo now.
Yeah, absolutely. No coach's shirt. I love those. I always get a couple of those.
Looks like 14:30.
I used to wear them for work and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Let me get away with that.
That's why I rock summertime. I wear shirts like that. That's what I wear to work, man.
This is fun city. This has been.
Look at that. Duke's up by 3.
Yeah, after that crazy start, you know, I give them a lot of credit, man.
Yeah,
they fighting back.
And I love Dean Smith, and I love Carolina, but I slant like this. There's no way. If they cut the lead, fine, but the fact that you are down
6 now,
it's terrible.
Chris Collins shooting that way, they become so much more dangerous. As a freshman, he was draining.
Yo, he is small. They both small.
Oh,
Him
yeah.
and Collins are little dudes.
Nope. They were career coaches right there. You knew, like, yeah. If you want to stay in basketball, you need to get to the bench.
They had 3 though. They had Capel too on.
Yeah, Capel. Yeah, all career coach. Which, I mean, hey, they were smart. They were an intelligent team, but didn't have that talent.
Yeah, McGinnis should have took that.
Yeah, just being sloppy. And you know what? We're making fun of them, but that is the high IQ. Like, that's the difference. Carolina's more athletic, but they're making dumb decisions.
Yeah.
And Duke, with that high IQ, they're not making those mistakes.
Yeah, and I think this is what you kind of like. This is how you turn that. You just go to the best player, you know, on the court. You just go to Rashid and let him do his thing down low. It's a nice fake, though.
Chris Collins.
Got the airplane. Yeah. I thought he did the airplane.
His second, the 6th team foul. And Wallace goes to the line, a 61% shooter. Even though Carolina's free throw
61, wow. That guy definitely got better.
Especially in the second half, they shoot better. Especially late in the game, Mike. They got great technique right there. You see.
He looks exactly the same, right?
Oh, yeah. Nah, it took a while for Sheed to age.
Yeah.
One thing that's happened here tonight, Duke has shut down the three-point shot of Dante Calabria. He's been extreme.
Yeah, that's where like they're struggling at too. Carolina is the three-pointer.
And they weren't in the beginning, but then it switches where they get cold and then Duke gets hot. Trajan
And the
Langdon
thing is,
can't
like,
shoot.
oh, absolutely. The thing is, with a team like Carolina, you knew they weren't a great three-point shooting team. So watching that, I'm like, all right, this is going to change. You know what I mean? Eventually, they can't stay this hot. But they were getting in the paint, and they were, you know, they were doing their thing, and that stopped too. Anchorage is Alaska's own.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a great recruiting. That's a great job recruiting, man.
Because he got hit. Isn't Boozer? Was Boozer from?
I can't remember.
I don't know if Boozer's from Alaska too, but it was. Maybe he's not. I forget, but that definitely was. I was like, Alaska. You got ballers out there?
Yeah. 14 points, 0, nothing else. He's just catching and shooting.
Yeah, Langdon went. Boozer went. He went to high school in Alaska, at least.
Wow.
Yeah, he grew up in Alaska. So they really they got all they could get out of Alaska.
Yeah.
they tapped that well dry.
Yeah. They got two great players for their program there.
Which I want to see. I mean, I never, honestly, this is off the dome, never read nothing about it, but like Alaska has them parts of the year where it's like sun is up 20 hours a day, which is like sounds cool. Even that though, I could be like, man, I gotta go to sleep and like it's bright and sunny. That'd be hard. But then like there's some periods where we know how cold it is, but then it's dark 20 hours a day. So I kind of wonder, like the mindset of like you're a kid and like, you know, I know like that could be an oasis, you know, playing ball in a gym somewhere, but still, it's just depressing.
Yeah, it's got to be, because even here, like, you know, on the East Coast, where if, you know, when that time rolls back and it's 4:30 and it's already dark, it's rough, man, in the winter.
Yeah, it's just hard to kind of get going.
Yeah.
Even being young, it was still like it was. If I had enough for basketball practice, I was like done after like that. I was like, I don't want to do nothing else. I'm like at 6 o'clock, I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, you want me to do homework now? I'm like, what? So it's like, I don't know. I just wonder like that. I should look it up, but how is it like being a player over there?
Yeah.
Stackhouse misses the second shot. He has 15 points.
Stackhouse with 15, yep.
What do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say down 8, man. That's a big deficit.
Yeah, you can kind of look at Carolina, you know, props to them for when they rally back, you know. But what do you think this Duke team, if Coach K coaches throughout this year, do you see them as a tournament team?
They might be. I mean, they were, again, 9-3. I mean, because even if they're a bubble team, they're getting in. You know what I'm saying? Because it's Duke. So, you know, they're going to bring that fan base any region they go to. And so I think if they're even 500, they're going to get in. You know, and I think he would have kept them afloat. You know, and it's crazy to think about it, man. Like we were just mentioning that graphic show. They were 9-3, then they went 1-6 when he stopped coaching them. And I think they only won 3 games. I think they won 2 more games after this. That was it. So
yeah, well,
it wasn't a good season.
Well, I'm looking at it now. I mean, 9. You got to beat who's on it, but let's see. They beat Brown, Northeastern. They played Connecticut and lost. Connecticut was number 16.
Yeah, Connecticut was good.
Yeah, they beat Illinois. They weren't nothing special then. George Washington. They did beat Michigan, who was ranked. So that's a good win. And then they beat North Carolina A&T, a little HBCU.
Yeah.
And they lost to Iowa. And that's who they were. Those are the games under Coach K. So I was wondering. So I mean, you got to beat who you're playing, but a little padded here. You got Browns, got Northeastern. You got like some like elite schools here. You're playing.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good point, though. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. Man, they're almost down 10, man. Like, in the college basketball, they could slow that game down.
Yeah.
Shoot that. Landry showing up.
They have some.
See, now Carolina's starting to like. Starting to play D now. It should be not hard against this Duke team.
I think this is an indictment to how bad Duke is, because you hear Mike Breen say, our ESPN viewers, you join us, and I'm like, yeah, why is this game not on ESPN? I mean, Duke is, I know, but it's still Carolina Duke. Like, this is on, it's on the Deuce.
The Deuce.
Like, it's probably after that, like, it's only on there if, like, the previous game runs over and the tip-off. You know how they do that in the tip-off? Like, you see on the bottom, if you want to watch Carolina Duke, switch over to ESPN2 until the end of this game. And then, like, once that game's done, they put it right back on ESPN. Because even still, at this time, I'm young, but it's like Coach K's out. I know that, but it's Carolina Duke. I'm all over the Deuce.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I remember. I can tell you this. I was on the bus, and somebody all these kids were older. And I don't know if it was like a Thursday night, so Seinfeld was, the show of this era. So kids were like talking about like Seinfeld, and I'm like, "Did you watch Carolina Duke?" And they're like, "What? We watched Seinfeld. You didn't watch Seinfeld?" I said, "Hell no." You see that shot by Cable? I'm looking, and they thought I'd be all like embarrassed. I go, "You missed Cable's shot," and they were sports fans. I'm like, "You talk about Seinfeld?" I'm like, "You missed Carolina Duke, man." I'm like, "Come on."
Yeah, I wasn't missing this. I wasn't missing Duke Carolina for years. You know what I mean? Like,
some sloppy play here.
Yeah.
I give Dean credit. Dean's letting them play through it here. Michelangelo, as Dickie V calls him.
Michelangelo, yeah.
He's down 12.
This place is rocking, though.
Yeah, they are getting hyped.
When I watch these games like this, right, these older games, I always look at the ESPN like bottom line. You know what I mean? Like, and see like those games too. Like,
no, because we've said it before. Like ESPN Classic, maybe is up there top 3 reasons why I'll speak for me why I'm doing this podcast.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Naturally curious about history, but at the same time, then getting cable and getting ESPN Classic, and I heard about Dr. J. I heard, MJ at Carolina, but now I get to watch some games. All I had was pictures of MJ or highlights on SportsCenter, but a whole game. I got to watch MJ, or these different athletes who I read in books. Like, it was a game changer.
Yeah, it was so totally different. Like, I'm watching, and we've had this conversation, I know, a long time ago, but like, I'm watching home run derbies with like Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, like all these guys. I'm all over that stuff, man. I would never forget when ESPN Classic started, and I'm watching horse racing. Like, I don't care anything about horse racing, but I'm watching Secretariat, like this thing,
absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was awesome. And then they came out with Sports Centuries, and I was done. Like, I was hooked.
Oh yeah,
they had me right there.
I used to every morning they would play Wide World of Sports, but the Ali and Cosell years all the time, and I would just watch them, like watching Ali and Cosell, and that was, I can tell you what time it came on 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Wide World of Sports.
I'm surprised with that call by Frank Scagliotta because Vitale had the good angle.
And she got attacked there.
Scagliotta came all the way from the other side of the floor. There's the little
She should have got attacked here, man.
Rice misses it. There's Parks. And there's
over back.
He's looking over at Scagliotta making the call. You see it right there? Yeah. He was right there. I think it's gotta be
You say Cherokee should got attacked?
Yeah, after that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. Knowing the stories about Stackhouse, Cherokee wants no parts of Jerry Stackhouse.
No.
That's a guaranteed ass whooping for him.
Yeah. A country ass whooping.
Yeah, he want no parts of that. And for those who don't know, go ahead. Okay, those who don't know, when you're done watching us, just type in Jerry Stackhouse and Dan Levitard, and it's just a bunch of Stackhouse fights.
Yeah. Hey, look at these dudes diving in the crowd, falling in the crowd.
It's Carolina Duke, baby.
They letting them play. too, which I love. I was gonna say, I talking about Stackhouse. I remember his sneakers that came out weren't bad either.
Those Feli.
Yeah, the
remember that commercial? He really loves his Feli shoes. I remember that.
Yeah, because this is what, 94, 95. I'm trying to think. Grant Hills?
Grant Hill had Feli, yeah.
They were nice. Still nice. I've seen them come back. Those were great sneaks. Feli had a good run there.
They did.
Ooh, charge. Good call.
That's a good call, yeah.
Yeah, he was out of control.
Dick, we have seen the Duke players drawing fouls tonight. That's one of the things they have been able to do all year. And that's position defense. That means they're hustling through the spot.
That's all they do is try to draw fouls. Yeah, he was a little out of control here.
You know, one thing is for those go on ESPN Plus, watch the Dickie V documentary. It's excellent. Just another similarity with Madden and Dickie V is Madden's known for the hyping up, focus on the big fat guy Nate, or he's just the boom to the boom. But Madden broke down a lot of knowledge. Dickie V's known for awesome baby and PTPer, but the documentary showed how prepared he is, and if you listen to him call a game, you're getting that he's a former coach, a lot of knowledge from Dickie V as well.
Yeah, and he knew those little integral stories of guys and, where their family were from and where their parents did. And that kind of made it, and they talked about it in the documentary as well. It's like it filled a lot of time, you know what I mean? Where him just kind of commentating and talking about this guy and, this guy's dad used to da-da-da-da, and then people are like, oh, wow, how did he know that? And it's just, like you mentioned, it goes to that preparation, and they took that preparation that they had to do with coaching and put it into broadcasting, where at the time guys weren't doing that.
Left in the half.
Tied it back up.
John Neighbor, have you ever seen anything like this?
Never once in my life. I got to admit, I haven't been to many men's college games since I got out of school.
Who's this guy?
Those seats that those students
I
are
don't
waiting
know.
for 2 weeks for, they're not using them. They're on their feet the whole time.
Hey, John, you're having such a great time down there. That means you're not going to take your check, right? Because you don't want any money for this. This is fun.
I'm having a ball.
He talking about you work free. John's like, no way, buddy.
John's like, I'm on the deuce, man. I got all the money I can get, man. I'm not on ESPN. I'm on the deuce. It's like the only thing below that is ESPN News at this time. It's like you don't want to be on ESPN News, but it's like you're on the deuce. Hearing late great Stu Scott and Susie Colbert and Keith Olbermann being like how bad ESPN2 was when it started. It always cracked me up. It's why it's weird that this game's on. That's what you put. Now, I liked watching some of those things because,
so did I.
World's Strongest Man would be on the deuce and stuff like that, and
dudes carry around on big balls and stuff. Whatever the hell they were.
I'd watch it. You get the Extreme Sports, X Games on the deuce.
X Games, and that's where X Games kind of blew up though.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't a fan. I mean, not that I wasn't a fan, but I didn't do all that bike riding and dirt bike stuff growing up as a kid. But watching it there was awesome. I'll still watch some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, man, you get, especially as a kid, those summer months when sports, you have baseball, you love it, but it's that's really all you got. Yeah. And the deuce rose for me, when it was maybe too hot to go outside or I wasn't going to go outside just yet. It's what am I going to watch? It was classic or the deuce.
Deuce. And this is where this game's now going to just go back and forth and back and forth. And The intensity, man, is off the hook.
It goes from good to great to legendary.
Yeah. There you go. I mean, I'm surprised. Money, soft touch. I'm doing that all game.
Yeah, because they had no answer for Rashid.
No. And I think that was a big adjustment Coach Smith did, towards the end of this game. It's like, all right, let's slow this down and go to the big guy.
Pretty much. It's like, hey, Dean, I love you. I know you love that whole four corners stuff, but let's give it to Sheed.
Yeah. Let's keep it simple. Oh, you should have shot that.
You should have.
Yeah, now UNC is turning up the intensity as well defensively. Wow. Give him that.
Yeah, he should have shot it when he got it.
Out. Yeah. Stackhouse boxing out Parks. Should not be happening. Stackhouse is a strong dude, man. Out of here.
See you,
fouling dudes out.
See you, Meek.
What a super night for Meek. They want to give him.
I hated that huddle.
Oh, man. Drive me nuts.
He's pleading his case to Frank Skaggs.
Come on, get out of here, man.
I'll be honest, man. There's some teams. I'm gonna say it. I will. There's some teams like the Yankees. I get like why people who aren't from New York like they're hated, but people love them. I get the lore. The Cowboys. I get why they're hated, but they're loved. Unless you went to Duke, I really don't understand why they're so like they're both. They're loved and hated to me. Like, why aren't you just hated? I'll be honest. I'm sorry. I just don't understand why people ride Duke. Like I said, unless you're like an alum of Duke University, I don't get it. Like, I'm like, what these like everything? It's like they're just annoying.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't get it either. And it's like, we've had episodes here, on Bigger Than the Game where we done Duke games. We did Duke Kentucky. V. Like we had Duke on this podcast a couple times, and it's the same thing, man. Like that hate always comes out from us for sure, and it's just because of the type of player they have. Again, we mentioned in a couple in this game. Wojciechowski and all that. Like, we know they're not good players, but they go to Duke and they're elevated and everybody loves them and they don't really do much. It's slapping the floor and it's.
Well, I'll be honest.
It's so annoying.
Leitner is the only one who it makes sense because he had the charisma, he had the looks, he could play. Like some of the other like other guys like Danny Ferry, I'm like, I don't know what the draw is, but he was a good college player. But he's not charisma and not looks. He's Weasley. Like
right.
Woj is just like, big shot by Sheep. Woj has that leave it to Beaver. Like I feel like I'm like, shouldn't you be in bed? Like, don't you got third grade tomorrow or something? And that's why I'm like, I don't see it. So I'm just like, I don't get it.
And it starts with the coach too. Like it's just like that too. And he's on the sidelines, and you're looking at him, and it's like
he's slapping the floor too.
Yeah.
See, Woj missed that shot.
Shit out of here.
He should have been in bed, getting ready for school. That's what I look at. Well, look at him.
Yeah, he does look like a little kid.
He looks like he should be in grade though. Leave the Beaver.
He's not a long-range shooter. He's got to take advantage there of getting the ball inside.
Yeah, I'm letting him shoot. Dickie V telling him.
Yeah, he's in third grade. I let him shoot too.
Excellent timing by Rasheed Wallace. See, that's what young kids will do. Not the full.
Yeah, that was great.
He'll learn. I mean, this is how you learn. He's a freshman playing in
Yeah, this is, you mentioned it. This is where this game goes from great to legendary. Big game.
Very big shots. He's hit 6 of 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 61% at this point in his career, and his free throw percentage goes into the mid 80s in the NBA. But young here, man, struggles here.
And you see, Pete has good coaches. You see Mike Bray, future coach, Tommy Amaker. Ooh, she's missing them both, but look at Stackhouse.
Yeah.
That's why he's All-American. Stack. He loves them Fila shoes.
There you go, up 3, 46 seconds.
They are masters at the end of the game. People always say how lucky
Masters
North
at the end of the
Carolina
game.
is.
There's something about Dean Smith's teams, though, and I know we were talking earlier. Should he have won more titles? But a lot of games where he knew how to, like, he was a clutch coach in like the in-game strategies. Like, he knew how to draw up plays, really well, and like I felt like there was that edge that Carolina had, and also I think he knew that at a certain point in his career. Especially in the ACC, he was, no pun intended, the dean of all the coaches. So they all kind of felt intimidated by Carolina, but intimidated by Dean Smith. And I think he took advantage of that psychological warfare.
Yeah, and that's why I think what made Duke UNC so great, and it's like Coach K was not scared of Dean. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't have that fear factor, which Coach K, when Dean retired, Coach Smith retired, Coach K kind of took that on and was like, he became that. The referees were scared of him, like these other coaches were, in fear of him, and but at this time, you're right, it was Dean Smith who had that.
Yeah, Coach K did not kiss the Dean Smith ring.
No. There you go. Semi four corners.
Yeah.
Oh. That should be a foul right there. Yep.
Yeah, really.
Cherokee Park. And these are the moments here where it's like you want to just punch him in the face, man. Like when you see these little plays right here, and they'll replay it, but it's this is the stuff that gets me. And it's like this the extra. I give him credit for going up though. I'm trying to get that. Then it's like that. Like it just drives me crazy, man.
And it seems like, especially after Coach K sort of got that first title, these calls started going toward Duke a little bit more, and it kind of like they kind of just, I don't know, like they kind of like, because Duke made it seem like she's fouling out huge.
Yeah, I don't know how that wasn't a foul from Cherokee Parks. Man.
I feel like I hate to say it, there's no proof. The ref said, let's make it a little interesting here. Because there's no way, to me, that's not a foul on Cherokee.
And it's, doing the little things there. You see Duke making their free throws. Carolina missing them, yeah. I mean, they got to the line. They more than doubled them, but still, man, their percentage is low. These are good. You know what I mean? Like they got these guys. They're making those free throws.
like the last 3 or 4 seconds, and then hope if the miss to get it off.
That's right. On that. Big, I give him credit though. That was a big free throw.
Good job, Cherokee. Those free throws.
Yeah. Coaching him up. There you go. Look at that. Oh, I would give anything to have been there, man. There we go. Going to OT. I was cool with that.
Tell him Dickie V.
It was great, man. Like, we grew up on Dickie V, man, and all that stuff. At the time, maybe, I don't know if I was older, if it would have been annoying, but, man, a young teenager, I was loving all of that.
I loved it, man. He helped to make college basketball, and he helped to make ESPN.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He is we talk about, at least for on air, I know you could look at some people behind the scenes. Most important people in ESPN's history on screen. He's up there with Chris Berman and the Bob Lees and guys like that.
Yep.
He's that important, Dickie V.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had to happen. That was probably the quote. Rashid didn't even really.
Because if you look at all these big games, you hear Dickie V commentating on them.
And there's plenty of things that have shown, starting in 79 with Bird and Magic, but 79 is also when ESPN started, and Dickie V was there in 79. In that decade of the 80s, what really sent college basketball higher but put ESPN on the map was their college basketball coverage. They wound up getting like the NFL package in 87, which kind of helped them. But in those early days, you hear, Big East basketball getting games like this. And it was Dickie V doing those games. Big Zwick. Big Zwick from the Netherlands.
I hope it does, Cure. We got to get him back in the arena. Stackhouse lost it on the way. The rebound.
Nice.
Imagine being home. How miserable you think Coach K was doing this stretch?
Oh, I know. Yeah, he probably was sick.
Yeah.
I was sick.
They're losing.
Yeah. This will be such a big win for them.
Yeah.
Struggling. But if they can pull this one out. They got those bragging rights,
I'll be honest. If I was Coach K, and maybe that's why we're different, I probably couldn't watch the games.
Yeah. He probably wasn't. Especially being like a coach like that. Yeah. Like,
I feel like he probably wasn't, but this one you have to watch. It's Carolina, dude.
You're analyzing so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why are they doing that? That could be offensive stuff. And again, we were talking about Langdon earlier in the episode, and Donald Williams was a really good shooter. Was not known for someone to put the ball on the on the floor and take it to the hole, and he just blew by Langdon there.
Yeah. And that was the thing that I think Duke players showed me, because there were times when you look at like the NBA draft with guys, not just at Duke, but like a guy who had college ball was like, he wasn't the star of the team, but when it came to the draft, he's a high prospect. And that's because when you get to that next level, you need that athleticism, that wingspan.
Yeah.
It comes into play. It's a different game. And I think like a lot of these Duke guys, they were the ones that showed me, because I'm like, man, William Avery, Trajan Langdon, why aren't these guys killing it at the next level? They're good here. They didn't have it.
He also not only picks up the dribble, Mike, he puts his head down.
Yeah, you can't do that. Can't pick up your dribble.
Doesn't have vision for anybody posted up.
Look how young Jeff Capel, and like thinking of how he looks now. I mean, I know it's 27 years, but still.
Can't do that. Done. Great defense.
Calabria hits the first, he has 8 points. Hits the second, he has 9.
Calabria.
The lead has grown to 5.
Yeah, just at this point, you're like, all right, Carolina's taking over. You know, this is what they're doing.
But there's the concern because Sheed is fouled out.
Right. Stackhouse, man, flying around.
Not a good series for Jeff Cable.
Stackhouse in there with the big guys, man. Very smart.
And he's really like, 6'5".
Right.
It's good to watch this game, obviously, for Dickie V coming out of Duke, but I think it's forgotten just how good he was. And there, it wasn't fair, but you see why they compared him to MJ.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a total package game, man. Big shot by McGinnis.
They're up by 7 here. 2:33 left in overtime here. And you are starting, back then at least, and if you're right, like, this game's just be over. Like, Duke played hard. They went to OT against a top 3 school in the country. Let's see what Carolina ranked at this time. But
yeah, they were like 16-1, weren't they? They were up.
Yeah, they were hot. Yeah, they were number 2 in the country.
Yeah, I was gonna say they were 16-1 coming into this game. I think they lost to like NC State or something like that.
So you just say, hey, number 2 in the country, you played them that hard. Good job, Duke, but it ain't over.
And this is where I think, like, milking the clock can hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, it takes you out of your rhythm. It takes you out of your offense. They score here, but it's, dudes are just standing there. You know what I mean? Like, you're so much easier to defend. Money.
I get it. I know it's easier said than done, but especially when Dean was doing this pre-shot clock era. But, I never got why. Take your chances, man. Like, press, like, you need the ball. You need possessions. Take the chances and press. Like, I love that Jimmy V with, like, NC State started doing those intentions. He started, like, because, like, Dean, I love Dean. And, hey, I don't knock him. It was smart. But you watch some of those old ACC games, it's like 10, 12 minutes of they just held the ball. And teams just sat back for all those times until, like, the end. I'm like, you let 11 minutes go by. What do you think?
That's terrible. I don't know how they let that go. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. Good D. Donald Williams hit a big shot against Michigan, win the title. 93.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pick up. They hawking them though. I give Duke credit, man. They're all over them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, college basketball, that 35-second shot clock, that's a lifetime, man.
Yeah.
And this is the difference where Williams, you can see why he was not a good NBA player. It's like you got Woj on you.
break him down.
Yeah, you gotta get to the hole, man.
16-1. Don't have depth. We talk about it, but they're 16-1. North Carolina. Chance to be 17-1. One loss over in Wolfpack Country. Played without one of their starters.
You got it, yeah. NC State, yeah.
Swicker comes in, leaves.
And then you look at this game, top two scores obviously Stackhouse and Wallace at 25 apiece. Yeah, Maryland with Joe Smith, Wake Forest we talked about.
Virginia was ranked that year, you know.
Yeah. Florida State had somebody too.
But they had lost. They had that run with, you know, Cassell, Bob Sura, Charlie Ward.
Bob Sura, yeah. So is that team?
I feel like this is a little after. I feel like that team played against like the George Lynch, like that Carolina, because like Cassell's a rookie in 93, 94. Charlie Ward, you know, he comes out at that time.
You know, several years ago, you called the timeout.
Right. No, they.
Clock stops the last minute of the game. People say, well, why the timeout? The timeout is to be able to set up the defense, to go into a defensive alignment.
Yeah, there he goes coaching, you know, Dickie V. Kind of explaining why you call a timeout, and it's like, you know, if you're a newer like fan of the game, and it's like, oh, okay, like it's kind of the same stuff. And that was a great comparison by you, Deremy, of him and Madden. I think you're right, like spot on. Like they're breaking all this down. They're breaking down what's going on in the huddle, and it's like he's also like entertaining us but schooling us at the same time.
Right.
Exactly. But think about Heartbreak Hotel. They lose tonight, Mike. They're 0-8. Think of double overtime loss to Virginia. Overtime.
Yeah, he's tired.
Two-pointer.
I gotta take all that shit off.
Yeah, he's probably one of them ones in Szeszkiewicz, you know, camping out for like 2 weeks.
Oh my God, I know. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
No.
I love this rivalry, but I'm not doing that.
I'm gonna get somebody. I'll rotate with you. You know, you get a few days, I get a few days, but I don't know about that. No tet. Because Carolina's warm. It ain't that warm, though. You get some cold Carolina nights, too. It ain't like it's Florida or something.
This guy has a solid
He looks good there, though, man.
Yeah.
He's 3 for 3 from the line. Dante with 10 points. But I'm fatigued right now.
He gets to the Final Four this
year. He looks like a little kid.
He looks young.
Williams comes back in 93-86.
So the Final Four this year was Carolina, UCLA, Arkansas. Who's the fourth team? I can't remember the fourth team.
I can't remember that either. Who UCLA beat?
To Arizona?
No, Arizona went the year before and lost to Arkansas.
16 seconds to go. Trajan has 17 points.
Wow.
Tonight. And the foul on Price. Some of the young kids at Duke really have
I want to look it up. It's not even trying to nice.
They're going to be really solid.
I think 94, 95.
The bottom line is they lose guys like Parks and Meeks, and that's not going to be easy to replace.
Yeah, I'm stumped.
I can't think of that.
Stump the Schwab.
I can't think of that fourth team.
Yeah.
They're so used to winning, so acclimated to getting into the winner's circle.
All right, I'm going to have to look it up.
And all the success they've had here at Duke. 5 points for McGinnis, his first free throw.
Was it did Kentucky go?
career high 13 against Florida State. You mentioned Jeremy Parks. I know his stock has gone up.
Oklahoma State.
That's why we don't remember.
Yeah.
This crowd deserves a hand too. They were unbelievable.
Oklahoma State.
This crowd down the lane, basket.
Oklahoma State had.
Mistake
I know Eddie Sutton.
Eddie, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I knew Eddie Sutton was on that, coaching it. He was there for a long time, but Big Country.
Ah.
They had Big Country there.
That's exactly the same situation we have. If Cable can make
stiff.
Yeah. But could give it to Shaq though.
On the inbounds play. Absolutely, a lock up on every
Yeah.
You play well against Shaq. That's about it.
He did. He did. He was a big boy.
5 out of 5. Now they have to.
These are. We're going to see why Cable. Look at that, man. That defense. It's a good pass, though.
They're swarming them.
4
And
seconds
the right
left.
guy to foul.
Yep.
The big stiff.
But this is what I want you to see, Deremy, man. It's like standing at this free throw line in Cameron, like with this crowd, dude. Look at that shit, man. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know. It's gonna be hard to hit. You got to hit one. That's it. That's my mindset. Just got to hit one.
That's it. But that's the thing. You gotta be icing your veins because
look at him. He wants no parts of that. Deremy, look at that face.
it don't matter, man. If I don't go to either school because if I'm going to Carolina or Duke, the reason why I'm going, just like if you go to Michigan or Ohio State, is you want to play and be remembered in those games. Because if you don't want no pressure, don't go to them schools for those.
Right.
Where no matter how bad you are, everyone's watching.
Great timeout. I'm not. That's Dean Smith calling a timeout. I don't know if I'm calling a timeout there. Because I feel like you're giving him much more time to think about it.
I think maybe to set up, though.
Right.
What to do because, the smart thing is, and we see it here, when a team misses that free throw, it's smart not to call a timeout because then keep the defense on their heels. And
right.
I probably, if we saw it, Dean saw, the big Dutchman. Those eyes were big.
If he misses this free throw, second free throw, like
you're gonna make it.
Get ready.
You're gonna make it. But if you, just in case, get back on defense and blah blah blah.
Oh, and 7 in the conference.
Oh yeah, it's a train wreck.
Yeah.
Scenario again right here. Mike is after. Number one, if he makes the free throw, it's academic because there's no way that Duke can win. You'd have to come up with a genius play.
Yeah, if he makes this, it's done. I don't care what they're trying to do. This is the greatness of sports, man.
Yeah.
Like it's these pressure situations. It's like, and you're right, Deremy. Like if you don't want this, then you go to a different school. This is what you want. If you're a competitive player, don't get me wrong though. You could be the most competitive player, and this is still a very difficult situation.
It's pressure. It is, but when I was a kid thinking about UNC, I wish I could go to UNC. It's to play and to be remembered that you took them to a title, and also like you beat Duke. You beat Duke. You in those matchups, you stepped up and you crushed them. Like,
and he knows at this point he's not really going to NBA. He's not going to be an NBA player. Like he's not going to be good. This is his moment.
Surge. Oh.
still gets me. Look at that shit, man.
That the Cameron at his best. I really do feel like this is Cameron. This is at his best, and for a bad team too. Cameron at his best and Dickie V at his best right here.
I remember watching this. They almost fell out of my chair.
He didn't make good decisions, but they'll forgive him for anything.
And it's like watching this live. I remember that ball in the air, and I was like, I was nervous. You know what I mean?
Because it looked like as close, and boom. And you're just like, are you kidding? Because then even
in my mind, I was just gonna say, Deremy, in my mind, it's like the old double dribble game. It was like, like that's what it was going through in my mind.
And even back then, it's just like you're thinking, if you keep letting people stay in, like it's gonna bite you. And that was the fear. But he makes this shot, it's like, and also, how do you bounce back? You know, after that buzzer beater, like momentum is a real thing. And it's like, how do you swing it back your way? Like, and your best players fouled out.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're looking at UNC, like from their standpoint, they played a really good. That was a really good overtime for them. Like
they should have put them away.
Right, they were up 6, 7, 8 points. You know, this game should not have went to a second overtime, but it did. Got to give due credit, you know, and definitely give. Look, they're like talking to each other. This is the shit, man. Like. At this point, it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night on school night, man. I'm all in this.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, Dickie V, I don't want to leave.
Yeah,
because you know you get that whole thing. All right, I'll finish homework and go to bed when the game's over, and then it's like game ain't over. Like still playing. This one's for you, Coach K.
What a great game. Whoever wins, that's what cool.
Stackhouse winning the jump on Cherokee Parks, man. Yeah, the players are feeling it.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is what sports is about, man. Especially like collegiate sports, dude. It's like this is for the love right here.
This
is just like pride, you know, for prize.
It's what rivalries are about.
Right.
You know, rivalry. That's why rivalry. You know, when it's rivalry week, rivalry games, you have to tune in, even though you think it's going to be, oh, this team's much better this year. Obviously, rivalry is the best when both teams are top, and you're like, who can win this one? You know, but it's still, even when one's not doing well, you got to pay attention because think that traditional stuff goes out the window in a rivalry game.
Yeah, you get the best games sometimes like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, nice move, Cable.
Because I guarantee you, if this is Maryland or say Virginia, and that's an ACC rival, but it ain't Carolina, and you can put Sheed and Stackhouse on those teams, and the way they started, I don't think Duke's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, they turned it up a notch due to the fact of who they were playing. It's a must. And these guys are all from, like, not all, but like Stackhouse is from North Carolina. You know what I mean? Like, all these guys probably know each other from playing around each other so much.
Yeah, and some of them went to camps in high school. You know, AAU is a thing at this point. You know, it becomes even bigger, but how many of them are from AAU? Different, you know, All-American games. Like, you know each other.
All the media giants that arrived here tonight certainly being thrilled.
These guys are playing, and Cape fouls out. So at that point, you're like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? Like, this is not good. These guys are playing tons of minutes, and this is where, again, we were talking about this Carolina team with the depth issues. I feel like McGinnis and Stackhouse have been in the whole game almost.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing more exciting in terms of the pageantry, the enthusiasm, the spirit, the cheerleaders, the fans.
There you go, Dickie V. Tell him. So we were talking about earlier, like him hyping up the hyping up the game with the commentary, help people understand the game by breaking down some strategies and coaching, the thought process behind what the coaches are doing on the sidelines here. And he was also an ambassador, man, for the game, and the documentary did a great job of kind of pointing that out. It's like he was selling college basketball and he was just doing it there. You know what I mean? Like, again, it goes back to what you were mentioning earlier, how he kind of this coverage is built off of his back. For ESPN at least. So here, that's why they would have went to Rasheed Wallace down low, and he's not there. Calabria.
One thing that Carolina had, and I think honestly helped them win, is that they crashed the boards, and they took advantage of rebounding when they needed to get those rebounds. And I think honestly it saves Carolina in this game. If they don't win they don't get so many second chance opportunities, I don't think they beat Duke tonight.
Right. It's a nice move there by Williams. Put him on his butt, man. That was a nice spin move. Yeah.
For Donna Williams. Saying if you didn't foul out, we'd probably be hoping a W by now. Another stack down low.
Yeah, probably.
For sure.
There it is. Possession here. Parks the three. Another stack. Have a wide open shot. Another rebound for Pierce.
And what's also killing Duke is, you mentioned Carolina getting on the board. Cherokee Parks is, he's shooting. Yeah, man, Dickie V jumped in right before me. He's playing in the perimeter,
He's
man.
trying to be a stretch five.
Yeah, it's not a thing yet. Good timeout. That's a good timeout. This is a big possession. They're up 3. If they can hit another 3, go up 6, it'll be tough. Without Capel as well. Oh, wow.
It's weird because I didn't remember Cherokee Park trying to be a stretch 5, trying to shoot so many threes, but
right,
he was tonight.
Man, them cheerleaders.
Yeah, why are they doing that?
Yeah, they flew by.
Yeah, I'm like, well,
they look like birds. They're like birds.
Oh yeah, I was like, what? I had a lot of confusion on that one here.
Did they not give him that timeout?
No, I don't think so.
There you go. Look at that shit. Come on, Stackhouse. That was a bad shot. Ah, he made it, though.
Huge.
That was a tough shot, too, man. Big man in your face. Dang it, man. I love that they're panning back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. That's kind of the game right there. Alan Williams hit some big shots in Carolina.
Yeah.
That was a big shot there. Yeah, I thought that was weird too. Like, it's 102.98.
seconds to go. You have to foul. Yeah, you got to come after the basketball.
Very strange.
Yeah. And this right here was I didn't understand either. Now the shot clock's 35 seconds, and Carolina got the ball with 36 seconds, and Duke is not fouling. The crowd's yelling for it. Coaches are yelling for it, and these players are not doing anything. And then they turn the ball over. So this is your guy right here. This is his moment.
Who was?
Little Rudy. Yeah, little Rudy. Gotta hit that. It's a bad miss there, Deremy.
Yeah. Bad miss. I believe them not being ready for the moment, though. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, like, Dean Smith calling that timeout, like, going over, getting you set up. So that, to me, showed they were just thinking about when do we foul. They weren't thinking about, they're going to turn the ball over. And I think you saw them, they didn't know what to do. And we talked about early in the game. They don't have guys who can beat you one-on-one anyway. So that makes it you really have to be prepared and have a play prepared because you don't have that guy who you can just say, hey, you, go get it.
Right. Yeah, that was big, man. That's where Coach K would have came in and definitely probably called a timeout. But here, you got to love this, man. They're getting a standing ovation, by the Dukies and the Crazies. It was a great game, man. You don't see college basketball with that score.
No, you don't. You don't. And if you look at Duke Carolina history, people talk memorable games. February 2nd, 95 is on that list, one of the most memorable games in that storied history between Duke and Carolina. So, a double overtime, you don't get that often either when they go into overtime, a double OT, and a great, crazy, buzzer beater shot by Capel. It's a special game.
Yeah, it's a great game. And, what made us think about it again, like we talked about at the Open, was, that Dickie V documentary. And, again, when I think of Dickie V, I think of this game. I think of other games as well, but this is the first one that comes to mind. And, us being big Carolina fans. And again, this for me was probably the best game I've ever seen, college basketball game I've ever seen. There were some great college basketball games, and I've seen a lot of great ones. But, even like a North Carolina Villanova game was up there, the championship game. But this one here, man, it just had it all.
This is your number one?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, this is my favorite. Well, my favorite. This is my favorite. I'll say it like that.
Honestly, it's tough for me.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of great games. Don't get me wrong.
I probably would put even this year's Final Four game, Carolina Duke, over this one.
See, I'm not. I can't do that.
I think
that's a great game. It's a great game. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been a lot of great games. The UNC Michigan championship game is a great game, and to me, this is one of my favorite games. I'll put it that way.
It's definitely one of my it's a favorite.
Yeah, just the environment, everything that was going on. A lot of the highlights, that came out of this game, and then there's still, that Capel shot and the reaction. It had it all, and this is why it's one of my favorite games.
It's huge. Especially Duke Carolina. It's fun, but there's some other ones that I gotta say I get down with though for college basketball, because that 6 overtime thriller with UConn and Syracuse, that was tough to beat. It's just so many great college basketball games the Kentucky Indiana, one of Dickie V's other great calls.
Yeah,
with the buzzer beater at the end when Tom Crean makes that face, and they storm the court. That was a great one, because that
was great too. Yeah,
I was hating Kentucky and Calipari, all the one and dones, and I like Tom Crean a lot. So to see Indiana get that win, that was really cool. So that was a favorite of mine.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. I remember those Iverson, Ray Allen games. UConn and Georgetown were really good. Like some of those Big East games. There's a lot of great games. To me, again, like this might be my favorite game.
Yeah, I tell you what, a favorite it is that Michigan Carolina that tie, cause that was a great. I mean, the ending's controversial and crazy, but that was a back and forth game. Like they
Back
were,
and forth.
that was a
Yeah.
great one. You know, and who knows next tournament time, by the time where you get around, that's 30 years. That's maybe a future episode, future watch along.
Little teaser there, yeah.
30th anniversary of that one.
Yeah, that's a lot to talk about for sure. But even in this game, we've mentioned it, all the highlights, all the great plays, man. Such a great game. And again, we just wanted to, we're podcasters, right? We're sports history and obviously sports media and all that stuff. And again, what big of a name than Dickie V when it comes to college basketball? And this was kind of like, our little like thing for Dickie V. And again, just kind of letting them know he was a big influence in our lives, and it just had to be done, right? Bigger than the game. That's what we do here. We connect the past to the present. So,
well, he had the SB speech. He got the Jim Valvano Award, and he's been fighting cancer. So you think about him in that way. But he's someone I think, and hopefully we stop. I think he kind of had been around for so long, he got taken for granted. Because he still was doing them in college basketball. Also, I blame lost its shine in a way too. So I think that kind of hurt it. But I think Dickie V's a broadcasting giant, icon, and legend. So, man,
because at this point everybody's a diaper dandy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing else, and all these nicknames that we grew up with. It's just hard to continue to do that for a long stretch of time without it kind of feeling a little stale, but it was still great. I used to love hearing them anyways. But this was a lot of fun, Deremy, man. I'm glad we did this game.
No, and
it's really cool.
Everyone, please, we're getting back into doing these watch alongs. So we're gonna have a lot more for you. Another one for you. Next week we're gonna conclude the Jeter docuseries later on this week, the finale, and give. Talk about that final episode, but also wrap up this whole series on that. And we're coming with a lot more content for you. So follow on YouTube, like and subscribe. Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose, wherever you listen to podcasts, because we give, this episode right here is just for the YouTube feed, not for the podcast feed. So if you want to hear our podcast episodes, we did an episode tribute to Bill Russell that dropped last week. So if you want to hear that, please go on wherever you listen to podcasts. Same thing, Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose. So for the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jose Ruiz, I'm Deremy Duff. Thank you guys for watching.